Hello, Texas, and welcome to a new episode of The Five. It's been a while, but it's a new year and we decided to bring it back. So, I figured we start out 2020 with a look back at 2019. These are my 5 favorite shows of 2019. A few rules that I made for myself. No festivals, because that would be cheating. All the festivals were my favorite shows of 2019. And I went to a couple of private shows that were really cool, but I decided to focus on public venues that anybody could go to. Because we're just all searching for that magical music night that we weren't expecting. And I've had more than a few this year. There are a bunch that didn't make the list that probably should have, and I want to make a disclaimer. I've never ever attended a bad show at the Cultural Activity Center in Temple, Texas. My expectations are high and they're almost always met. And I didn't put any of these on my top 5, but every one of them could be on that list. Notably, Vallejo, Kelly Willis, Jeff Plankenhorn, Jim Lauderdale, Joe Ely, Jim Messina, Red Volkert and Bill Kirchen, and finally the Black Lilies. If you ever get a chance to attend any show at the CAC in Temple, just go. Okay, let's get to the 5. Number 5, Trista Marez and Jake Worthington at Copeland. I took my wife and daughter and met a good friend of mine that's a photographer named Jason Deckman out in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Copeland is a restaurant, an inn, and a dance hall, and that's pretty much it. But wow, if you're looking for Texas ambience, you can't ask for anything more than Copeland Dance Hall. Tristan was new to me, but it was one of the year's highlights. First, I didn't know until I was up taking photos of the band, but one of my favorite bass players ever, Michael Mode, was up there playing bass, and Bobby Texas was up on the steel guitar. That alone should be enough. Tristan is on the fast track to stardom. He's got some great songs and some great hooks, and just a killer band. And then, seeing someone like Jake Worthington in a venue like that is just memorable. Real country music surrounded by family and friends on a hot summer night in the middle of Texas. And I want to say thanks to Jake's guitar player, Mason Hightower, for pushing me out of my comfort zone and getting me to go out to Copeland to see a show. It was really fun. Number 4, something I never expected to be on this list, Signo at Chef's. Back in May, Ronnie and Stacy Sheff brought a name in that I had heard of but didn't really know. They're the Foo Fighters of Tejano music is the best way that I can describe them. The good people that showed up for Signo weren't the usual Chef's backyard crowd. I had a good friend, Michael Carabelli, that opened the show, and that was enough to hook me into going in the first place. If you don't know Michael, you should, but more importantly, if you see him playing live, just go. Every show's a party, which is fitting because Michael Carabelli himself is a party. Always a good time. But the surprise for me was Signo. From the moment they got off the bus to the moment they got back on, they were on fire. They had a drummer with a drum kit that looked like it belonged in a Rush show, a percussionist, a bass player that looked like he could have been in the World Wrestling Federation, and one of my favorite meets of the year, Richard Rosales on guitar, which was one of the nicest, most down-to-earth personal people I've met all year long. And on stage, he looked like a character out of the vampire movie From Dusk Till Dawn. He had a heavy metal feel that fit the band really well. And they had a hype man. Man, that guy was entertaining. But their lead, Jesse Turner, he just impressed the entire time. They met fans before the show and they were prepared with merch and got the kid on stage during the show. They did a pre-show interview that I bet Ronnie Sheff still plays on his TV at home every now and then. They had a light show that belonged at AT&T Stadium. The merch ladies and the sound guy were all polite and engaging. And I've even told a few bands this year that if they want to know how to build a fan base, go watch a Signo show. The music was great, even when I had no idea what they were singing about. The crowd was engaged and happy, and I just can't say enough good things about it. It opened my world up to a couple other Tejano shows for the year, and that's why I put Signo as number 4. Number 3. Now, Chef's had a great lineup this year. So many good shows. And I usually leave a Chef show thinking that I just saw the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I saw a bunch of shows that were packed that could have easily made this list. Whiskey Myers and Flatland Cavalry were probably at the top of that list. Those bands at this venue are priceless. But I'm going to put a show here that wasn't too crowded and it just checked every box that I look for. Jared Birmingham and Mason Lively. It wasn't a huge crowd, but those that were there got a real treat. It was just one of those nights where everything came together. It was mid-October, the weather was starting to cool down a bit, and it wasn't a sweat fest, Mason Lively opened the show, which I thought was really cool because he and Jared Birmingham were neighbors when Mason was a kid. I love the stories that Jared told about Mason, and if you don't know who Mason Lively is, you're about to. Everybody is. He's got great songs, great stage presence, super nice guy. His guitar player, Carson Pope, is a beast, by the way, on guitar. It's just great seeing those guys. But what set this show apart from the rest, for me, because I could put each and every Jared Birmingham show on this kind of list, was he had his full band. 8 people on stage, and each and every one of them is just amazing. Drum, keys, fiddle, bass, lead guitar, steel guitar. Those guys are some of the best musicians that Texas has to offer. Why Jared Birmingham isn't mentioned in the same breath as all the all-time greats is a travesty. When it comes to country music, I mean real country music, he's second to none. And his wife Jennifer, and it's probably no secret that I have a huge crush on her, and Jared, I think everybody does, is just great on stage. Their chemistry is worth the price of admission to whatever show they're playing. Find someone that looks at you like Jared looks at Jennifer and like Jennifer looks at Jared while they're singing, and you're going to be all right in life. Jared and his full band on a perfect weather night under the oak trees in what I consider my home venue with a lot of my friends in the audience, that's a concert moment we all look for. Number 2. Now, cover bands are a dangerous proposition. There are a lot of bands that don't have great talent and use covers just so they can play. But I saw 2 this year that are guaranteed fun. One is the Spasmatics. Just go to a Spasmatic show and you'll understand. Nobody walks out of a Spasmatic show in a bad mood. But I'm going to go back to a show that happened at Shep's on July 4th. Sprung. Now, if you know the 4th of July in Belton, you know it's a big deal. There was a lot going on that whole week. There was a kickoff festival, rodeos, a parade. Flatland Cavalry played the day after July 4th with Caitlin Butts, and that was an amazing show. But Sprung is something of a legend in these parts. My buddy Eric Rains is their drummer, and him playing in his hometown is always a big deal. And he had his son there that night and got him up to play drums with him on stage, and that was a really cool moment. It was another one of those nights where everything just came together. The crowd started off small, but the band is a bunch of pros. In the end, the crowd was huge and they were really into it. The music was great. Ronnie Shep even got up on stage and pretended to play guitar a little, and it got capped off with a fireworks show at the end. It was one of those shows that I was just personally honored to be a part of, and I think everybody in the audience felt the same way. People in Belton were buzzing about it for weeks and still talk about it to this day. And number 1, when I think back years from now to the year 2019, one band's going to come to mind. I think I saw them 5 times, 6 times this year. The first time was back in February at Barrel Brewing in Salado, which is an amazing place just to be. I saw them a couple times at O'Brien's, a couple times at Shep's, once at a pizza place called Slow Rise in Waco, and once at the Saxon Pub in Austin. But my number 1 show of the year, Lily and the Implements' first show at O'Brien's Irish Pub. The first time I ever saw these 4 play together was really memorable, but the first O'Brien show was something special. First, the Lucas Woolley Band opened the show, and that was cool because drummer Evan Shepard plays for both bands. Lucas put on a really good show, and there are a lot of people in the audience there to see his band, so the crowd was pretty electric going in. And after seeing Lily and the Implements a couple times before this, I knew what they were capable of, and they were still new enough that they were trying to find their legs. They probably weren't perfect in their own eyes, but they were to everybody in the audience. My friends Jason Deckman and Christopher Winston were there in the audience with their cameras, and Lily and the Implements put on a show. I don't know if it was the nerves or the beer, but it just sounded perfect. I've known Wes Perryman and Lily Milford since 2012, and I've been big fans of theirs ever since. Them together alone is a supergroup in my opinion. My friendship with John Napier was still growing, and he's the secret sauce to that supergroup. And I was really enjoying watching Evan Shepard on the drums. It was on this night I knew they were exactly who I hoped they were going to be. And again, it was just one of those nights where the crowd, the atmosphere, the music, friends, it all just came together. And it was hard to pick which show of this band I was going to put on this list because I was going to put them somewhere. I was proud of them for playing at the Saxon Pub in Austin. It was cool to see them play on the stage at Chef's. The Christmas show at Barrel Brewing was really memorable. along with the last show right before Christmas at O'Brien's. But this May 2019 show was just one of those shows that I think everybody in the audience remembers. So those are my top 5 shows. We hope you're enjoying everything at hellotexasusa.net. Go on over and sign up and let us know what we can do better. And stay tuned for more videos from me and Tim Murphy. So from Steve at Hello Texas, so long everybody.